Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the Sandwich of Coherency. I know that's a little bit different, but I was asked to add a little bit more brightness to my intro, so this one's for you today. And also, I'm just feeling in a good mood. Let's go, Brandon. Fuck Joe Biden. Whichever one suits you better. Scream it to the winds and make your voice heard, because at this point, I'm not sure that it really matters. So today we're going to start off with a little bit of humor and just funny things, and we're just going to talk about some stuff. Let's start with Pramila Jayapal. She is an American activist serving as a politician. Something about that just does not seem like it should be, but who am I to say? She is a representative for Washington's 7th Congressional District, and she has been in office since 2017. And if you've ever had the opportunity to hear her speak, it's like listening to her ideals is like running fingernails on a chalkboard, because she makes not much sense. So let's go ahead and start off by listening to her say something I just find categorically hilarious.
I also had the opportunity to directly question Attorney General Merrick Garland on the discrepancies in the treatment of January 6th insurrectionists as compared to how Black Lives Matter activists were treated. White supremacy is one of the most dangerous forces in this country, and it's critical to...
I'm just going to stop it right there, because I'm just going to have to go ahead and say this. Wait, you know what? Let me let her finish.
The voices of all the black and brown activists who were tear gassed, shot with rubber bullets, and arrested simply for peacefully protesting.
There we go. That's what I wanted to wait for. Peacefully protesting my fucking arse. I'm sorry, how many fires did they set across the country? Please explain to me, which group of people burned Minnesota down? Which protesters were trying to loot the Diamond District of Los Angeles? Which protesters were trying to burn down buildings, breaking into fucking stores and offices in New York? Are you critically insane? But see, they throw this at you. We gotta stop white supremacy. And see, if you're brown or anything like that, you gotta automatically get behind it and believe us, because we're seeing white supremacy is the problem. Man, what the fuck? White supremacy is one of the least important issues that should be on the minds of minorities in this country. It should be, I don't know, being prosperous and trying to take care of yourselves and your family. This whole nonsense of white supremacy. If the white supremacy is so great and it's that fucking scary, why does everybody of non-white European descent is what I'm saying, keep flooding to America? Why do they keep coming to one of the most racist countries in the world and becoming one of the most successful groups of people in the fucking world? If it's so, and I feel like I'm kicking a dead horse, or this is a broken record, because I find myself repeating it again. Minorities come to the United States and are more successful than the Americans who live here of any racial descent. Period. This is fucking nonsense. This whole we gotta fight white supremacy. Man, look. The reality is that, are there white supremacists in this nation? Yes, there are. Do they have any kind of influence over the majority lives of minority people? No, they don't. You have to understand, if you listen to what liberals are saying, the things that they are asking for and wanting and what they want, they actually align with most of the ideologies of white supremacy. People need to be separated by race. Race is one of the most important factors. The person's character has no bearing because their race is the first important thing. White people are up and black people are down. Black people can't get ahead because white people are in charge and control everything. Black people need to have separate schools. They need to have separate dormitories. They need to have separate cafeterias, separate lunches, separate graduations. We must separate the minorities. We've had schools that have already done this. Understand that if that were coming from someone in a fucking sheet on their head, or it was, say, some white guy with the shirt with the Confederate flag on it, you're gonna scream it's fucking racism. But if it's coming from an American Indian or a black woman, oh, it's not. Or it's coming from a white liberal. That's the key. Now it's not racist. Oh, we're doing it for equality. You know, equality. We want to feel equal. You are fucking equal. White supremacy, it's such a threat, the biggest problem in the United States. People like Michael Jordan have made a success for themselves. We have so many black entertainers, so many black lawyers, so many black scientists. We had a black president. If the fucking white supremacy is so great, what does that make Obama? Was he catering to the white overlords so that he could get into office and do their white biddings? This is some fucking bullshit. And I'm sorry, people who are still running around screaming this nonsense and saying this shit in today's modern times are just trying to lie to you. They're lying to you. They're trying to fool you into thinking some fucking bullshit. And people are gonna say, well, no, man, you're self-hate. You know what I mean? You just don't want to recognize that racism. Look, again, like I said, racism out there exists. But the last fucking thing on the radar of minority people is white supremacy. All right, let's have a look at Chicago. Hey, I'm pretty sure there's a song about Chicago. Chicago. No, that can't be it. Oh well, something like that. Anyways, Chicago year to date. Shot and killed 659 people. Shot and wounded 3,195. Total people shot 3,854. Total homicides 701. About 95% of those are I'd say about a good 90% of those deaths and people shot are black people, and the majority of them were shot by other black people, not black police officers. They weren't shot by white supremacists. It wasn't a bunch of white dudes walking around in sheets. No, it was their neighbors. It's the guy that shares your skin tone, the one you're supposed to be marching with in solidarity. Black Lives Matter. Fuck the police. And then you go and kill your neighbors. Where are the protests? I mean, how many children have to be shot in that place? You know, the last thing, so I'm just giving you this as an example, that the last thing that people in Chicago were worried about is fucking white supremacy. They should be more worried about their shitty fucking politicians doing the job, because they're not doing it. Take New York. I can say confidently that the last thing on people living in New York's mind is dealing with white supremacy. They're dealing with failed policies of their leaders, which is basically run it into a fucking shithole. You think Californians out there, white supremacy is the biggest factors of what they're dealing with? Is that really the case? I mean, Woosah. Let's breathe. Now that we're talking about, since I mentioned New York, let's talk about New York. So, let's talk about the SALT Act. And everybody wants to talk about finances, and everybody understands how money works, and none of us really know how it works, but we try and pretend like we do, and we have an idea and we talk about it, and that's the one thing that we're supposed to do. There are lots of things out there and ideas that are very hard to talk about. Some of them are not meant for pleasant society, but we still should talk about them, because if we don't talk about them, they just get worse. And it's important to say this: it doesn't really matter if your feelings get hurt, because sometimes not talking about the important things because your feelings are going to get hurt is how your feelings get even more hurt, and you end up in a worse situation than you would have if you'd have stepped up to begin with. So we're going to look at the SALT deduction, state and local tax, which caps the individual deductions at $10,000 a year. So the amount that you can deduct off of your yearly pay, to lower your tax liability, caps out at $10,000. And that is thanks to that deduction. Now, here's the thing. We're looking at how it works. So this is coming from the taxfoundation.org. Taxpayers who itemize may deduct up to $10,000 of property, sales, or income taxes already paid to state and local governments. Now, before this, there was no cap to the value of the SALT deduction. So in theory, the SALT deduction exists to offset the federal taxpayers' liability by, excluding some income that they've already paid taxes on. Okay? Especially to their state and local governments. Now, taxpayers claim higher deductions, okay, in places like New York, Connecticut, California, Illinois, Pennsylvania. Okay? So before this act, 91% of the benefit of the SALT deduction was claimed by those that were making above $100,000 a year. So, because you earn more and you put in more, you're able to claim more in deductions. And that's, that's really, one of the bigger factors with this idea, of taxes. So, and basically, what's happening is that New York, because of that, now this was about 2017, they lost about $2.3 billion in taxes because of that. And the thing is that, now this is put into place. Now, mind you, this tax is put into place to be able to take money from those that they claim are making more, because you got to understand, most of the people that are claiming these deductions were earning well over $100,000. The problem is that the people that got affected the hardest by it were the people making less than $100,000. That was part of this problem where you had teachers that were upset about it because they couldn't claim their deductions. That was just a big issue with that. Now, since we're looking at these tax-related ideas and these tax policies, I want to say this because this is very important. And I've said this before, major corporations and businesses can't afford to pay more in taxes. They exploit loopholes of the 70,000 page tax code that the United States have, because they can afford the attorneys and the CPAs and the groups to be able to that's all they do is research it to find them the best ways to be able to lower their tax liability. Now, everyone as a citizen, you have access to this tax code. You literally and legally have the right to use these tax codes to your advantage. The problem is that as an individual, you don't have a lot of time to scan through 70,000 pages. So, you hope places like H&R Block and whatnot are going to be able to help you, but those places are just ripoffs. And you'd be best to get together with maybe 5 to 10 of your friends and pick sections of the tax code and go through it and find a way to benefit yourselves by doing your own taxes. Because the idea with taxes that people will have is that you got to understand, you really should look into what your employer pays. So when you realize, and the reason I just want to say this, when you look at your paycheck and you see that you have your taxes removed, Social Security, Medicare, federal, state, remember, the company, your employer, also pays a significant portion, of about 50% on a lot of that, of those taxes that you pay. And that's the difference why you get a W-2 and not a 1099. Because if you are filing your own taxes, your employer's not taking anything out. And at the end of the year, you owe every penny that you were supposed to pay. Your employer would have paid half, but, you opted out. And so you owe 100%. And it's hard to relate because that people put the numbers in a perspective to make it seem different. This guy made $100 million a year. This person made $400 million a year. They're not paying their fair share of taxes. And it's like, okay, well, what necessarily is their fair share of taxes? Because they might be paying in taxes what they paid might be somewhere around $10 to $20 million. And if you're saying, well, they're not paying their fair share, well, how much is their fair share? Because those people you talk about account for more than half, almost 65% of all the taxes paid in the United States as far as income. So it's kind of hard to, people, they want people to put into a perspective of he has more, so we need to hate him and we need to take it from him. But when you're only paying like maybe 5-10 grand, the taxes that those people pay, is really making a huge difference on your life. So this whole idea, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because when they increase these taxes on those people specifically that you're talking about, you have a situation like I brought up before in California, where those with the money are feeling like they're being taxed out of existence and they're unable to really prosper, to do what they would like to do with the earnings that they've made. Now, granted, they could pay more, but California keeps seeing it as the more you make, the more we should take, to the fact that people are leaving the state, and California is trying to pass laws to force those people to keep paying taxes to California for up to a decade after they leave. That's how you have a situation with New York, where in the past year, and this is over $300 billion walked out of the state in less than a year. People said they had enough, and the problem is that they get people so hyped up they don't tell you the reality. And the reality is when those people with that money leave, you get the bill, because it doesn't work in the sense of like, you get your paycheck and then you figure out what you can and can't buy. No, they estimate what they expect to get, and that's what they spend. Now, if they don't collect that much money that they spent and more, somebody's got to pay the bill. So if they're expecting to take in X amount of taxes, and the people they're telling you they're going to take it from say, fuck this, I'm leaving, and those people leave, they're turning to you and they're expecting you to cover the balance. That's how it works every freaking time. So, $300 billion has walked out of New York. It's gone to places like Tennessee, West Virginia, North Carolina, Texas, Florida, South Carolina. And as far as tax collection goes, New York is looking to lose over $62 billion over the course of the next 4 years. So all this stuff that they're talking about, all these things that they want to pay for, that they're saying we're going to spend the money for this, and this goes for California as well. Understand that those of you who call yourself either low income or middle class income, who beg for these things that they're doing, you are going to be responsible for that bill. There's no other way around it. You will see an increase in your taxes, and that's just what's going to be. And speaking of increases, let's talk about exactly what's happening with the ports. Now, a little thing that should be noted is that Vietnam, this is important because, we got a lot of shipping and we're trying to get stuff coming into the country. Well, Vietnam accounts for 1/5 of the United States apparel manufacturing and almost 1/3 of its footwear manufacturing. Ask yourself this question. Why does the U.S. not produce apparel or at least 2/3 of its footwear in the United States? I mean, that's really a problem. We're talking about having we're having crippling supply chain crises. And the reason we're having supply chain crises is because the basic necessities and goods that most countries in the world, for some reason, are smart enough to continue to make, the United States said, fuck it, we don't need to make it. I'll make more money if I let other people make it for my country. Yeah, I know my citizens are going to lose jobs, but I'll just tell them that we're helping other countries get ahead. You're American. Go work at McDonald's. Or some shit like that. So October, okay? This is what we gotta understand this month. And really, this is why I brought up Vietnam, but the cost of putting a container on a ship to bring it to the United States, just to bring it to the West Coast, costs $17,000 per container. And mind you, you got a press secretary that's telling you, the corporations would be mean and evil if they raised the prices on their consumers because they had to pay higher fees. Huh? Can somebody put her in an economics 101 class and explain this shit to her? I just like to see one of those reporters, when she says this dumb shit, to explain to her how the fuck this works. If it costs the manufacturer more to put it on the ship, to ship it to the place they're going to sell it, they're going to charge more to sell it, because if they don't recoup those losses, they won't be able to ship more again. So when the ships start coming, the shit starts hitting the fan. Okay, so on top of that, again, last year it was $3,800 to put a cargo, a cargo container on a ship. Okay, $3,800 last year, $17,000 this year. It was $1,300 in 2019. 2 years ago, it was $1,300 to ship a container. I'm repeating myself because it's important. This year, it's $17,000. You don't think there's going to be an increase? Because of a lack of shipping, we haven't gotten the computer chips that we needed, so the U.S. has not produced as many cars as it normally does, and they produced about 7.7 million vehicles less. Which means that's going to drive up the price of the current rate of used and new vehicles already on the lots in the United States, and those that are currently on their way being shipped. But according to the White House, this doesn't affect you if you aren't rich. This only affects rich people. I want you to understand this. They're telling you it only affects rich people. Why are you worried about it? The high price of food is only going to affect them. Everybody's getting welfare or some shit. I guess that's what she believes, or she's got this idea. Well, it won't matter because soon enough we'll put everybody on a universal basic income. And just when they do that, I just want to say this now so that you know you heard it here first. As soon as that happens, I give you less than a year, and everybody receives it will be forced to work government jobs, albeit picking up trash or some shit. But if you got this idea in your mind that they're just going to start kicking out a check every month and you're not going to do shit, you really think everybody else is going to keep working? The more and more people that decide to quit and collect those checks, they're going to create a separation in society, because those that continue to work will see increased wages and they will be moved to separate parts of the society to separate them from you. Don't believe me? Look at places where they tried that shit. So, also, trying to send one of those containers right now to the East Coast is about $20,000. So you're looking at $3,000 increase over the price of sending a cargo ship, just to bring it to the East Coast. So yeah, I don't know. This is just mind-blowing because, hey, we're having an episodic Monday. Let's have a good time. I'm going to finish this out. We're talking about just some hilarity. Walls are racist. Walls are dangerous. We got to look out for the people. Ooh, we got to spend that money. Walls are racist. So, Joe Biden just built a $500,000 security wall, perimeter fence, around his new property in Delaware. Wait. Why would you spend $500,000 of taxpayer dollars to build yourself a fence around your home? I thought we didn't need walls. I thought walls were racist to minorities. Having those things is it's a sign of white supremacy. That's what I've heard for 4 years. Building walls for protection is a sign of white supremacy. Well, damn. And on this last note, I brought her up the other day, but just in case you didn't know, for some reason Ilhan Omar's husband received $634,000 in relief funds. What if it has anything to do with the fact that they're married and his company is hired by her? I don't know. Or the fact that Joe Biden's son received $500,000 in pandemic relief funds for him and his two employees. Two employees. And you got a whole slew of young regular citizens getting sent to prison for gaming the system just the same as this motherfucker did. I guess it only works if you have a fucking president for a dad. But that's today's comedy, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. See you later.